you don't think it can happen to you.
The hit-and-run chase in California, a motorcycle rider witnessing a driver slam into several cars and then speeding away.
It can happen to you within seconds, a blink of an eye.
Tonight about the man suspected of killing a woman in a hit-and-run and his plan to evade justice.
When you take your eyes off the road for just seconds, when you're driving your car, oh, yes, it can happen to you. See, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When the sands of time will run out within your hourglass.
New at 10, a hit and run caught on video, and now a teenager and his family are looking for the driver who took off.
He was a victim of a distracted driver hitting the road while riding his motorcycle going 65 miles per hour. He nearly lost his life. Now on a crusade to help save lives and prevent someone else from becoming a victim, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com and now the host of this podcast, it's Howard Drescher.
All right, good morning, everyone. I am your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com. And, of course, now this podcast show. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV. And, of course, on Facebook, it's DistractedDB. And you get the shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. All you got to do is just type in the keyword DistractedDB. Oh, my goodness, people. First off, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you out there. And again, today, Black Friday, if you're out there shopping, be safe. Pay attention when you're on the roads. Please be safe and not drive like you've got to get the last gift out of the store, if you will. I'm sure there's plenty of items out there for you. First off, I want to say thank you to California, Virginia, New York, Wisconsin, Colorado, Illinois, Tennessee, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Texas. Those are the ones that have been checking in the last couple of weeks for my show, which I'm sure my special guest would appreciate that. Today, my special guest again is, she's a victim, survivor, now author of the book Talk Crash to Me. And I want to thank her for coming back on for the third of a final four of a mini-series of this book, Talk Crash to Me. Dawne, I welcome you back to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I would say a happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I know that Canada celebrates a lot earlier. I say thank you for being my friend, Dawne McKay. Dawne, welcome to DistractedDriversBusted.com. How's everything going today?
Oh, it's going well, Howard. Thanks very much for having me on again.
Okay.
We're in a little bit of we've got our first snowfall, so we're into a little bit of a deep freeze. Not too bad, though.
Oh, that's
here
awesome.
In Canada.
That's awesome. Because, as you know, maybe you may not know, I grew up in upstate New York around Syracuse. So with that, I had snow drifts and snow every time around October, November time frame. And it stayed until middle of April before it all melted away. But
right.
I can tell you that I had the deep freeze. I've had the soft snow, the wet snow, the slushy stuff. I hated it growing up in it, but I don't mind going back and visit for a couple hours and then leave.
Yes, there you go. As long as you don't have to stay, just go for a quick visit.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's awesome. But that's how I feel. So we did a couple of different stories in the book, a couple of different chapters. I want to move on to something because, as you know, the holidays are really upon us right now. We're in the middle of a lot of holidays, and it isn't really much fun, and it really isn't something that you'd want to go to if you've been involved in a crash. But in your book here, you talk a little bit about, social gatherings. Why is social gatherings good for you if you are able to attend these?
Well, if you are recovering from a crash, of course, there's a lot to think about when you're invited to these social gatherings. Of course, my crash happened about 6 weeks before Christmas, and unfortunately, I was not mobile enough to even get out and see anyone. But it is good to try your best to get out. If you can't, attend in person, of course, there's always other options. You can recommend or suggest to your family maybe a Skype or a FaceTime or a Zoom call instead to keep in touch with your family. But if you do actually attend, it's a really good idea to have some coping strategies in place.
Right.
So if you can find a place that you can decompress, so to speak, in case it's too overwhelming, because of course, there's lots of activity and there's lots of loud noises, and there could be a lot of kids. There could be televisions going and football, etc. So it's always good to kind of have a plan in place once you get there to kind of have a quiet room to go to if you feel too overwhelmed. And if you're hosting, if people are coming to see you, I would definitely recommend to say yes to all the help that is offered to you.
Yeah.
I had a really difficult time doing that because I'm very independent.
Right.
And, of course, I wanted to do everything the best I could. But I would highly recommend if family members or friends are stepping up to ask what you need help with, I'd certainly suggest that you take them up on that offer. Another thing I would suggest is to bring, if you're journaling, because, that was new to me as a crash survivor to start journaling, and I found it extremely important and very therapeutic for my well-being. So if you are having a few people over or you're attending somewhere and you have started a journal with your recovery, I would definitely recommend that you take that with you and try to keep up with that if you can. Because if you go to a quiet place and you can sit and journal away and just write your thoughts down and how you're feeling, I think it would go a long way.
Yeah, it seems like you want to be with people, but then you don't want to overdo it. And you talk about this here in the book. Never be afraid to fall apart. It is an opportunity to rebuild yourself. Now, are you talking about if you're at a social gathering and the thing is just getting overwhelming and you kind of break down and cry and you just kind of feel like, I don't belong here? Is that what you're kind of hinting at there?
Well, in a sense, yes. I would definitely recommend that you have to be honest and speak up with your family and friends, because some things might not be as easy as it once was. And again, I go back to the point I made a couple of shows ago, or maybe the last show I was on with you, about, if they don't see that you're visibly hurt, they're just going to automatically assume that you're okay. But you need to be upfront and honest with everybody that you're gathering with over the holidays, that some things just might not be easy for you anymore. For example, maybe it was easy to get behind the wheel of a car and drive 2.5 hours to attend a Christmas gathering. Well, it's not that easy anymore for you to get into your vehicle and drive 2.5 hours to see them. If someone's picking you up and offered to drive you to a family gathering, then you need to let them know, what your comfort level is in getting into a vehicle. So I would suggest the more honesty, the better when it comes to gathering over the holidays with your friends and family. Because if you don't tell them, they're not going to know. So it's really important to keep the lines of communication open. Everybody, even if you're not involved in a motor vehicle crash and you're getting together over the holidays, and whether you're hosting or not, it is a stressful time for everyone. And sometimes family are staying for 3 or 4 days at a time, and it can be overwhelming for everybody. So I would say don't be afraid if you do have a little mini breakdown. That's why I said, if you feel like it's too much or overwhelming, to be able to have a plan set in place that you could kind of go hide somewhere or just go lie down for half an hour or an hour just to gain your thoughts back, your composure, because it might be difficult. And like I say, for those that are recovering right now, right before the holidays, it's going to be a challenge, of course, and there's some people that might be in the hospital, unfortunately, for the holidays this year. And again, to make it more comfortable, so if you are recovering, of course, you're going to feel left out because your family and friends are gathering without you. So I would suggest, again, to set up a FaceTime or a Zoom. Ask a family member to bring a couple things from home to put in your hospital room to kind of make it homey, or, some Christmas decorations, so you don't feel left out. You don't want to feel left out as you're struggling and recovering in a hospital.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you want to be part of the group, but you, like you indicated, you kind of go know your limitations. Where is your comfort level? And as you said, let everybody know exactly, so then that way they can kind of tailor their stuff around you, but not like tiptoe type around you. Just they know how much you can handle or how much you can't handle, and then that they either back off or they just still continue to do the holiday things with you, but they know where to go.
Yes, exactly. The more information they know about your comfort level, the better. If you stay and you manage to get through it, whether it's just for a day or 3 days, that's fantastic. But you do really have to pace yourself. Something I've learned in the past when I started my recovery and started to feel a bit better maybe a year in, I had to learn my own limitations. So let's say, for instance, because it's the holidays, I got up today and I've decorated the whole house and I vacuumed and cleaned the bathrooms, etc. I know my limitations now, where to stop, because if I don't stop, I'll suffer for the next couple of days due to the chronic pain issues, because I've done too much. I've put too much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important as a crash survivor to monitor, your comfort level and not to overdo it, because we usually pay for it for a couple of days afterwards.
Oh, yeah, and that'll put you into a little bit of a setback. Now, here's something that's kind of interesting, which I looked at this and I said, I got to ask you about this, because I never even thought about this. But you talk about splurge on yourself a little bit. Make a small purchase of an item that you would like, in a way, if you can afford it. Kind of treat yourself, whether it be, some flowers. You go to a boutique and get some flowers. You get your hair done. You decide to go out and buy something small, maybe something that you would appreciate yourself, to kind of make you feel good about yourself. Now, was that something that you did? Because honestly, I didn't, but after I read the book, I think I should still go on out and purchase something.
Yeah, of course you should. Absolutely. Yes. That's something I kind of just learned on my own. If it's a holiday throughout the year, and if we're hosting, or I'm having a down day, I would certainly pick up a bouquet of flowers. It's very important to me, especially around the Christmas holidays, to pick up a bouquet of flowers. And every time, I kind of trained myself, every time I felt overwhelmed or anxious or tired, I would choose to look at the bouquet of flowers that were on a certain table in view that I could see throughout the holidays, kind of to bring more positivity into my recovery. And there's nothing wrong with purchasing a little something for yourself every now and then. Like, we have to we're clapping for ourselves, so to speak, as we recover, and we're achieving lots of things every day throughout our recovery. So there's nothing wrong, and it doesn't have to be that expensive to treat yourself to just a little something every time you feel the need. I would definitely recommend picking up a little something. It could be a spa day, it could be flowers, it could be your favorite box of chocolates, or things like that. Because we have to, we can't stop living, and we need to be kind of celebrated as we recover, because every step that we take in our recovery should be celebrated.
And I agree. Now, here's something that I think is kind of interesting. Now, this can hurt you, in my way of thinking, and it can help you. And in my case, this kind of helped me. Dealing with benefits of the social media and the internet. Now, I'm going to let you know right up front that this helped me, because I didn't know about all the different victims, actually, that were out there. and how many people were actually crying for attention, as in trying to get help. And I ended up going to a rally or an event where I met one of the ladies that had helped me to kind of help recover from my crash. And
Right.
I was so amazed on where all these people came from. There was people from New York, Chicago, Wisconsin, Detroit, California, everywhere. And it was a fundraiser day because she had lost her son. And she said she's been doing it for like 5-6 years now. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. And she goes, you do your podcast. Why don't you do something that involve people? And so I ended up doing something where I ended up with my 501c3 nonprofit for a while.
Uh-huh.
But the social media aspect, it helped me find other groups. Talk about how it was to find groups when you had your crash.
Well, after I started recovering from my motor vehicle crash, about, I would say, 6 months in, I don't know. I'm trying to think back if I was just fairly new to Facebook, but I started searching. I started Googling different support groups and looking for any type of support group out there that I could relate to online or even in person, and I couldn't find anything. And that's when I took the initiative to create the Crash Support Network group on Facebook. It started my own group, but since then, I'm just very, very pleased that if you actually go on Facebook now and you're looking for groups, if you type in a TBI for traumatic brain injury, I would say 20 or 30 groups show up now.
Wow.
If you type in amputees, because there's a lot of victims that have lost a limb. 20 or 30 groups show up. When I first started my recovery and got familiar with Facebook, there wasn't anything. But since then, I just find, like yourself, I agree, Facebook is a wonderful tool to use because you can just connect with so many people and learn from other people as well. Like, when you're in a motor vehicle crash and you retain a personal injury lawyer, they may recommend, stay off Facebook. And there's several legal reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are groups, such as mine, the Crash Support Network group, that is private. So basically anything that goes on to the group, like you ask to join and then you become a member, and anything that goes on in the group stays within the group. So it's not public.
Right.
I don't. I have a couple of rules in the group. We don't allow anyone to post any graphic photos, whether it be their own recovery or their vehicle that was in the crash, because a lot of members are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Flashbacks,
so it's not on a personal level. We don't see each other, but there's so much connection and empathy that, when somebody reaches out and posts something, I'm having a bad day today, I don't know what to do, I've tried this, that, and the other, has anybody tried this, can someone help me? And, within 5 or 10 minutes, the member might get 5 or 10 responses. And then everybody is just, the support is phenomenal. So I've met so many like yourself. I've met a lot of victims and survivors through Facebook and lots of organizations. There's a lot of organizations and individuals that have now created their own Facebook group or their Facebook page. If you've retained a personal injury lawyer, I would highly recommend that you follow their Facebook page because most lawyers now are blogging and they're full of information. So I would definitely recommend that you could follow them there as well. I find Facebook, like yourself, is a highly useful tool for anyone out there that is recovering.
It is. It is amazing that, first off, I think I was naive prior to the crash. I mean, yeah, I was a Facebook user, but I really didn't use it. I would just get on there and post something, or if somebody posted something, I'd say, yeah, I like it. Okay, that's a nice photo of your dinner at night. That's fine. But I never really used it to my advantage until after my crash, when I started investigating these things and I started going through these, and I was so amazed. And if you've listened to any of my shows in the past 7 years, there are several guests that I've had on the show that actually contacted me through Facebook and said, "Hey, I found you.
Right.
I found you. I know you. Can I be on your podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
absolutely."
And it's the overwhelming. It's like the big umbrella opened up, and there's a bunch of little umbrellas there. And they're all connecting. They're all trying to make sense of what happened to them. How are they going to be able to heal and get kind of back to normal? Because everybody knows we're not going to ever get back to normal. We're always going to have that fear factor no matter what we are. We're going to have that fear that could this happen again? And then you'd be all traumatized again. You have the fear factor of somebody else getting in front of you. Like every time, and now I don't know what the rules are in Canada. I can tell you in California and a couple other states, they have lane sharing with motorcycles where if the traffic is going slow, they can go in between. And I never really did that because I always felt like, oh, I'm going to hit a mirror or I'm going to crash. Somebody's going to pull in front of me. But I see people doing that. And, I get so scared. And that's the first thing I think about is if something happens to them, how will I react? Because am I going to be able to stop my car and go help them? Am I going to do this or that based on what happened? But it's just the idea that things like this kind of happen. But it's amazing what Facebook and probably Twitter and some other things you have a connection. You just got to do the research.
Yeah, and I would also add to that Instagram. I'm fairly new to Instagram. I think I went on there, maybe it's just been over a year now. I was very hesitant to join Instagram, but the people I have met on there are outstanding as well. You have survivors sharing their recovery on a daily or weekly basis that are brave enough to actually videotape themselves and share it on Instagram for everybody else to learn from and share with them how their recovery is going. I had a wonderful girl I connected with who is an amputee that is helping so many other amputees.
Oh,
so
that's
these
awesome.
people, they don't feel as alone anymore. And she's brave enough and kind enough to share her experiences and what works and what doesn't work and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So Instagram, of course, is another one that I would definitely recommend to get on there and start connecting with crash survivors as well, because it's very eye-opening, and I applaud every survivor on there that is sharing their recovery. So I mean, somebody that might have just been in a motor vehicle crash 6 months ago and is learning how to walk again, and someone is videotaping them. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Man, that's amazing. All right, you're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I'm your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com. And this is part 3 of a part 4 miniseries, Talk Crash to Me, with our special guest, Dawne McKay. Dawne is not only a victim, she's a survivor, and now she's an author of this book. And in the past 3 shows, or 2 shows, as this is the 3rd one, we've taken little nuggets of each chapter and talked about them. But I'm telling you, this book stays in my car each and every day. I don't take it out. And it's worth reading because there are so many things in here. And some of the stuff that, we've talked about in the last now 3 shows dealing with that like myself, I never knew. And then even if you get into the heat of the moment, when you know something, you may have just forgot because your mind is racing like 10,000 miles going different directions. What do I do? How do I fix this? What do I do? Do I contact this? This book will help you out. Dawne, I think this is an excellent book, and I am glad that you wrote this. And it just kind of makes me think, I wish I would have had this book prior to my crash, because I would have done a lot of things different than what I did.
Right. Well, I appreciate that very much, Howard. My book, Talk Crash to Me, is continuously getting wonderful reviews, and I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me, Howard. My mission is to try to get my book, Talk Crash to Me, into the hands of every crash survivor out there. So I am trying. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly trying my best to, get the word out, and you're certainly allowing me that opportunity. So I'm very grateful.
I appreciate having you on as a guest, because I think the more that you and I talk about this, I learn stuff, and I can remember now, okay, if this happens, what I can do. And hopefully it never happens again. Now, Let's talk a little bit about where you talk about you must practice self-love. Basically, you want to set some time up on the side for you. That is your own personal me time, if you will. That's what I call it. That you can do something to kind of calm yourself down. Give me some examples.
Oh, very, very important. It's a great question to bring up, or a great point, I should say. Self-love is extremely important, especially if you are just starting out with your recovery and you are dealing with a number of healthcare professionals to try to help get you back to where you once were. So it could be appointment after appointment after appointment. So some examples would be just to take an hour out of your day, maybe the same time every day, maybe just have a hot shower or a hot bath, maybe light a candle, meditate, maybe read a book, listen to some music. There's so many things that you can do that don't cost anything. It's just to allow yourself just that 1 hour a day, because you as you recover, you get so caught up in everything that's going on around you, and you're trying to put your life back together. I can't recommend it enough that you try your best every day to just take 1 hour. It could be going for a walk. It could be maybe talking on the phone, maybe playing a game, anything that can kind of just allow you to decompress and just think about where you are in your recovery, and you deserve this 1 hour and just to sit down and regroup, so then you have the strength to carry on the next day.
Oh, that's awesome. And I agree. It's something that would just help you kind of get through the tough day, kind of refocus your thoughts, if you will. Yeah,
exactly. Just to kind of regroup and, carry on and allow yourself enough time and strength to carry on and get up the next day to continue on. Because as you know, Howard, it's something that doesn't come easy. Recovering from a motor vehicle crash. And of course, everybody's different with the amount of time it takes, et cetera. But as you know, it's not that easy as some may think.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Today, my special guest again, part 3 of a 4-part miniseries, Talk Crash to Me. Dawne, thank you for being with us here today on DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I appreciate it. A lot of insight, and I appreciate everything that you've done in this book, because I've learned some stuff. I learned a lot of stuff today in this show for this episode, and I hope our listeners do too. Remember, I don't want to die today, do you? The most important thing right now is to sit back, relax, and grab this book, Talk Crash to Me, and read it. It could just help you. I'm sure it will. Again, remember, I don't want to die today, do you? Don't let anyone take the sands of time within your own hourglass. Until next week, happy holidays and be safe.